Hello there, and welcome to You Don't Know the Mindset podcast, all about creating the best future for yourself, one by design and not by default. And again, I just don't know what I'm going to get with that one because, yeah, if you watched last episode, it was very much Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. And I don't know what it was today, but yeah, it was just a stone-faced man, wasn't it? It was just someone who's,
I
it was
just
the
give
guy
you
from
different
Up.
emotions. Different
Yeah,
emotions every day, isn't
different
it?
emotions, yeah. It's definitely channeling the guy from Up. Have you ever seen Up, the
Oh
animated?
yeah,
Yeah, he's
definitely.
got a bit of
What
a
the dog?
grimace on his face. Yeah, Doug the dog. Yeah, Doug Days. Yeah, yeah. Point, squirrel, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, big shout out to Doug the dog, or
Oh yeah.
whatever he's called. But yeah, Adam, we've got you back on. This is Adam Chris from IdleCrisp, if I've not mentioned already, I can't remember. But yeah, Adam, we spoke all things music last time,
Mhm.
and didn't we only started to scratch the surface of the music world. We didn't manage to get onto a huge
Mhm.
inspiration for both of us, which is the fantastic, phenomenal band of the 60s, the Beatles.
Yep.
So, as a band, what have they done for you? Have they inspired kind of some of your musical journey, or
Mhm.
kind of what are your thoughts on them as a band?
So I think that obviously they've released lots of different stuff over the decades, like completely different almost genres as well, which is almost nice to see the development in sort of music, the development in the careers.
Yeah.
And I think it does show sort of the different stages that everyone might go through, like through the life. And I think it does show it in the music, especially. You know, you listen to the early stuff, it's all quite sort of simple stuff, it's all nicer stuff, it's all like everybody sort of relates to this. This is great. And then you get towards the end and it's like we can just go nuts with this, we can just write whatever we like, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
People are still going to listen to it, people are going to love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I like about the Beatles. It's just
Yeah.
the complete variation in the music.
Yeah, agreed. I think just to kind of give you a couple of examples that sums that up,
Mhm.
I watched his interview with James Corden on his Carpool Karaoke, Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
and he was saying how, yeah, he basically go to his old house that he used to live in Liverpool before
Mm.
the fame, and they're in the front room. He goes, "This is the room where me and John came in with an idea for a song, and we were going, listen to this, Dad, listen to this. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah." She was doing that, and it's like, "What do you think of that?" And the dad goes, I like that, but could we not change it to she loves you, yes, yes, yes? It's a
Mhm.
bit more English that." And they were like, "Oh, okay, maybe," but yeah, they didn't. They left it American.
Yeah.
They left it, yeah, and obviously, yeah, it worked. And then James Corden made a funny point, said, "She loves you, yes, yes, she does." You know, like, but then yeah, that's the start of them. That's pre-fame. That's kind of where they're at to
Mhm.
start with. Probably basic pop chords and early rock chords and stuff, and then they developed into. I heard Paul McCartney chatting about the writing of Eleanor Rigby. I'm sure it was Eleanor
Mhm.
Rigby where it has. Is that the one where it has the big ascending orchestral music at the end? I think it's that one. Like it's becomes
Mhm.
loud and crazy. Dun, 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 dun. But it's that. I think it's that song. I might be wrong, but it's certainly a song towards the back end of a lot further in the career. But he basically said Paul McCartney goes to they've got an orchestra, they've got like
Mhm.
everyone, and he basically says to them all, "I want you to all play your instruments from the lowest note you can, like the lowest down it'll go, and then just don't go off each other, just go off how you're feeling, raise
Mhm.
it, and eventually get to the point where you're all playing the highest note you can." He said, "That's what I want. I want that's my vision." And he said none of them got it. None of them understood what he
Yeah.
was asking for because he said they're so professional, the need to be told what to do. So he said their manager, I think, yeah, what he's called I forgot his name, but the manager of the Beatles basically wrote out what you wanted, like what Paul was describing, but in terms of
Mhm.
like, so you play this note at this point, you play this note here, but so that it still sounds as crazy as Paul's idea, but it's a lot more
Mhm.
structured for them. Which to hear that from my point of view as a songwriter is just out of this world. To think that
Mhm.
there's someone in the '60s who's got these ideas, which is like for me revolutionary, and it's shaped the way of music, and it still is. Some of the ideas they've done back then is still like unbelievable and still be very successful now, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. Everyone sort of looks at it and everyone says, well, you're just a copy of the Beatles, you're just a
Mm,
copy of this, you're a
mm,
copy of that. But
mm.
as we touched on last episode, it's like there's only so many chords, there's only so many patterns you can do, there's only so many notes.
Yeah.
Like you can't just write a new note. You can't make you can't
Yeah.
make something up like this.
Yeah.
You know, so at some point you're going to end up having to take inspiration. And I think everyone does take inspiration from somebody
Mm,
at some point over something, no matter how big you are. You could look at the biggest music artists around like right now.
mm.
Obviously, you've got you've got your favorites.
Yeah.
Not going to name names, but they'll have inspiration from somewhere, won't they?
Yeah,
Like
everyone does.
absolutely everyone will have,
Mm.
some kind of inspiration, no matter who it is or where it's from. You
Yeah,
even look at the Beatles, they'll have inspiration. They won't be the
100%.
the first to think, oh, we're the first to do this. This is great.
Yeah.
They'll have had someone in mind.
Yeah.
And then you can even throw it even further back. Beethoven won't have been just there thinking, I'm having a great time. He'll have had inspiration
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. There's very few people have got an original idea. People have kind of, got
Mhm,
good ideas, but they've been given that from their experiences and like they've
mhm,
honed it. And what you say about the Beatles, one of their earliest releases was Twist and Shout, and that was a cover. They thought it was a cover of the Isley Brothers, but it turns
mhm.
out the Isley Brothers covered a band called the Top Notes, and like that was like so yeah. So it came out like yeah, all this sort of stuff, and the Beatles put their own stamp on it, and they made it like,
Mhm,
and that's why it's the most popular version, I think, because it's got that Beatles flavor to it. But again, they said, and Paul McCartney says a lot. He said we were a covers band, we did covers,
mhm,
that was our thing to start with, and then we eventually thought, right, we see other bands, some other bands doing original work, and we think we think that's the way forward. We can write stuff as well. So that's it. They didn't obviously. None of them probably thought we could be great writers, but I
mhm.
think with Paul and John specifically, they were so good. And then George Harrison was probably how old, maybe 14 or something when they started really getting into it. And then I think by him being around those two, he probably had these amazing ideas himself. But if you look at some of the songs George Harrison wrote, he wrote like Something and Here Comes the Sun and some of these amazing songs, While My Guitar Gently Weeps and things.
Mhm.
And you think, is that is that all possible because he was surrounded by John Lennon and Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr as well?
Yeah, I think it definitely plays inspiration, doesn't it? Like you wouldn't. A lot of people think, oh, they'd be here without this person, they'd be here without that person. But I don't think anyone could be anywhere
Mm,
without everything that's
mm.
happened to them.
Oh
Even
yeah.
tiny things.
Mm,
Like let's say you go to the shop one day, and let's say someone just reaches up and says, "Oh, hiya," like a little old lady's like,
mm.
"Excuse me, can you get that from the top shelf for me, please?" And even things like that, I think, do shape people.
Yeah.
And if someone turns around and goes like, "Nah," it's like, "All
Yeah.
right, great."
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
that. Whereas, a lot of people just be like, oh yeah, and that'll just put you in like a little bit of a different mood. It might put you in a better mood, being like, oh, I've just helped someone,
Mm,
rather than just, oh, I've gone to the shop, I've got me milk, there we go, let's go home.
yeah.
Tiny little bit of interaction there. You might then, even that little thing, someone might go home and write a song about that, or
Mm,
even just a lyric, like one quick line,
mm,
saying, "Oh, we're in the supermarket today, blah blah blah." A little old lady pushing a trolley round like something, blah 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 blah. And it's even that could play
mm.
into a song. So there'll be so many lines that we just won't know in music, and
Yeah.
especially with the Beatles,
Yeah.
where you look at songs like, I think the best example of this is Penny Lane.
Mm.
They're just literally just describing that street.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
just describing a street and everything on that street. And it's like, one day there might have been something else that would have happened. One
Yeah.
day something else could have happened, and that might have been in the song. Something could have been cut from the song.
Mm.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing with it. Anything could just happen. And you
Yeah.
need those inspirations, whether it is just bandmates around you who are constantly there, or if it is just someone pushing a pram alongside like Penny Lane and just being like, oh, let's write that in the song.
Yeah. And that's what works, and that's what works now. I think so. The biggest artist now is probably Taylor Swift, isn't she? And that's why I think she's so big that her lyrics are very describing the situation. Everyone knows what she's talking about from what she's singing, and she just describes emotion so well. And I think that's what the Beatles had. I think Um, again, is it Eleanor Rigby? It goes Father Mackenzie, diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo.
Yeah,
Like that's the
it
song, isn't
is.
it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I heard Paul McCartney chant about that song, and yeah, he said it's so simple. You talk about kind of being in the pews or being in the church and rice and things like that. Rice on the ground and all this. It's just simple stuff. And he said the original lyric was Father McCartney. He said he wrote Father McCartney, but then he said actually that seems a bit big-headed because people will think I'm talking about myself or I'm talking
Mhm.
about my own dad. So him and John Lennon just went to the phone book, got to McCartney, looked for names near it, and they went Mackenzie, that'll do. Like and they just made it Father Mackenzie, and then. And then yeah, it's become what it is. And also, he had the so Paul McCartney, I think he spoke about this a lot that he has melodies usually sometimes before lyrics. So
Mhm.
he had the do 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 do. So like he was like He's like okay do do do, and he's like do 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 Eleanor, and he's like okay Eleanor. So he came up with Eleanor first, and he was just thinking. He said he walked past this shop, and he looked up at the shop, and it was called Rigby's, I think, and he went
Mhm.
ah. Eleanor Rigby, that'll do. So like he just did Eleanor Rigby like off that, and then yeah, he said, I don't know if this is anything. He said, I don't know, but I have been told near where we live in Liverpool, there's one tombstone with
Mhm,
Eleanor Rigby. Like there is an Eleanor Rigby in
mhm.
that grave. And he said, that is, I don't know if I've picked that up because it's in obviously our local one in Liverpool, but he's like, yeah, it just felt right. It felt like Eleanor Rigby was supposed to be the name of that song.
Yeah, I think it is. Like you say, it's those things you just walk around. It's when you're not thinking and not expecting it as well.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes that you get hit with the inspiration stick the hardest, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
It
the
just,
best way to think. You'll be in the
yeah.
shower one morning, you're walking up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, be like, oh, I'll go in the shower. It's freezing cold in the morning, put a nice
Mm.
hot shower on. You're in the shower and you'll just be like, oh, hang on, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you'll have just a crazy revelation and just be like, right, there's me week sorted.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And
Yeah.
I think it happens to loads of people.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing is just making sure you do it. You write these stupid things down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Because
happened to
later,
me a lot
you're not
more.
going to
Yeah.
remember these stupid things.
No, there's
We'll
what,
have all
yeah.
had great thoughts in the past. And I think that just having that thought in the first place, everyone can have it.
Mm.
It's just doing something about it.
Yeah. 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 Just got to be, yeah, be prepared to act on it, I think. Because, yeah, I was going to say that, if you know Carl Pilkington from
Hmm.
yeah all the stuff. So he said he'll sometimes he said for example I'll just be about to pop out and I'll be about to go to the shop and then all of a sudden my brain just goes oh an onion and Tim goes and I'll just write down an onion and Ricky Gervais goes is that your onion lobe that kicked in there is it telling you about your onion so, but it's true like that does happen doesn't it
Hmm.
like things will just pop in your head randomly and yeah like I say it's good to I use my notes
Hmm.
page on my phone all the time and like my checklists to just write stuff down because there's so many things I go oh that'd be good to do and then
Hmm.
yeah you just can't
Well,
do everything all at once can you
it's the exact same when I first started streaming
Hmm.
and like first started getting into all the content and stuff. And I imagine you'll be the same, obviously, with the podcast and other things that you'll do.
Hmm.
I have a dedicated notebook. I don't know where it is right now. It's
It's very
somewhere in this
dedicated.
room. I'm looking for it now.
It's
I
gone.
promise, if I can find it in the next 5 seconds, you can have a little look. If I can't, then we'll just move on with it, shall we? And just
Absolutely.
pretend I never said that. But
Yeah.
this notebook, I
So this
don't know where it
notebook was
is.
really important to you.
It's somewhere in this vicinity, and basically, I just write anything down that's just related to
Okay.
the stream.
All right. Yeah.
Absolutely anything.
Mm.
I'll have like a stupid idea of be like, oh, even 30 seconds of like something to say. Oh, I'll
Yeah.
just write that down.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to, work on these visuals. I need to do. Oh, I'll write that down. I've got an idea.
Yeah.
And swinging it right back to the Beatles,
Mm.
they'll probably all do the same thing. Obviously, they wouldn't have a smartphone. I'd just be like, oh, I'll just type this
Mm.
into my smartphone
Yeah.
back in the 1960s. So they'll probably have like pads and pads and pads of paper
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
just littered around, and there'll be so many good songs in there
Mm. Yeah.
that just won't have even made it to
Mm.
like being played in a practice session or anything. They'll just
Yeah.
be there, and no one's ever going to hear them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there could be so much better. There could be so many number one hits in there that are like
Mhm.
bigger and probably better than that. But it's about what the band feels. It's about what everyone feels and like feel
Mhm.
connected to. And I don't suppose you've seen the documentary Get Back that was on Disney.
I think I might have,
See it, yeah, because
I might have.
that was so good. I mean, it's a really long watch. It's like 6 hours worth of
Mhm.
like footage, but for someone like me, it was so incredible because you see Paul McCartney come in, sit down, and go, I've got this idea, guys. Have a listen to this. Do 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 do. Get back. That's all I've got. He's like, that's all I've got. Get back.
Mhm.
Like, that's all I've got. And he's like, but can we do something with that? And they're like, absolutely. And then yeah, they wrote it,
Mhm.
and it was like one of their best songs, really, wasn't it? And
Yeah, I
John
think
Lennon came in
it's
like 10 minutes
again.
late, and it was there,
Mhm.
like the song already.
That's the thing. It's like it's just saying to people like, "Look, I've got this idea. What
Yeah,
should we do with it?" It's
yeah,
like if you just sit on that yourself. Let's say Paul McCartney just sat on that and was just like, "Oh, get back.
yeah,
This is all right. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll move on. We'll go to the next thing."
yeah, yeah.
Anything could have happened, but even just
Mm,
the fact that he was just like confident enough to say in front of everyone, just be like, "Right, got this idea.
mm.
Get
What do you
back,
think? Yeah,
fix it, do something, help me with it,"
mm,
and just
yeah,
having that help from other people
yeah,
made it a song, made it
yeah.
possible. It wouldn't have happened if he didn't have the rest of the band with him.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember again. I can't remember which song it was, but he said there was one song that they'd done, and they'd shown it to their manager, and the manager went, "That's really good, but it needs a little something at the start." And George Harrison went, "Well, how about this?" And then the first riff he played, everyone said that was incredible. That's it.
Mhm.
And Paul McCartney said the song is only a good song because of that riff. Like he
Mhm.
said, without that riff, it probably doesn't work as a song. But it's like, yeah, it was just there and there. Like George Harrison just went bang. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
I've got the talent. I've got this idea. Let's give it a go and see what
Mhm.
works.
And
Yeah.
on another day, it would have been a completely different riff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's crazy to think, isn't it?
Yeah, and they might have, yeah, if it was a different riff, they might have gone, nah, we'll park that
Hmm.
song, we'll come back to that, and then they might have never released it, whatever it was.
Hmm.
I'm sure it was a big hit, but I can't remember off the
Yeah.
top of my head. But yeah,
Somewhere on that on that documentary, somewhere in that
yeah,
6 hours. Everyone
yeah. We'll
watch
go.
it.
Yeah,
Let
I'll go
us
and spend
know.
the rest of the day after this con trying to find that one clip. But uh, but yeah, but it's the same for all of them. I mean, they're all just like the four of them. I've talked about this before, but Ringo Starr wasn't the original drummer. It was Pete Best,
Mhm.
and the quote was, I think someone said, I think it was John Lennon said, is Ringo Starr the best drummer in the world? And he went, no, he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles.
But I think it's having those characters as well and
Yeah.
not taking things too seriously. Like you look at a lot of the films, if you've ever watched like
Mm,
some of the films that they've released, the Beatles,
mm.
none of them are serious.
No,
Not a
no,
single serious
yeah,
moment is on that film. And
just funny.
it's just having that sort of, putting yourself out there and just being like, this is who I am,
Mm,
accept it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not taking it seriously.
yeah. It's yeah, but like this is the thing. So Ringo Starr made the Beatles. He was a big part of what they were because he fit the band so well. He was
Hmm.
like, he's exactly what they needed. He was better for the band than the other drummer because they said the other drummer would just kind of, if they were on tour or even abroad, the three of them, George, Paul, and John, had to go off and do something, and the other guy would go off and do his own thing. And they said
Hmm.
that just shows like how kind of disconnected they were. So they said, yeah, it made sense that they replaced him with Ringo. And Ringo's like, I heard Ringo say in an interview that he said I was releasing my solo EP or my solo album, whatever it was, my first thing. So he said I just phoned up Paul McCartney. He said, Paul, I need a song, write me a song. And he went, yeah, Paul just wrote him a song.
But I think that's sometimes it as well, though. Like you can look at any kind of teams or bands or anything. Like you can look at any kind of team and you'd be like, right, why has this team not won anything like a sports team, for example?
Yeah,
Football team, you'd be like, right, we need a new midfielder.
yeah,
And they'll sign someone, and it won't even be the best midfielder. Like you say, it'll be like the Ringo, who's
mm,
good, really
mm,
good, don't get me
mm.
wrong, but just really fits what you need
Yeah, yeah,
and might not be the best at anything, but
mm,
just fits it perfectly. And then you'll
mm,
go on to win titles in football, for example. The
yeah,
same with bands, you'll go on to write hit after hit after hit and
mm,
just do magical things. It's just about having the right balance of everyone putting together,
yeah,
which I think is a really helpful thing.
yeah. I mean, yeah, this is something I've thought for a long time, and it's a story I didn't feel like I was going to get to share on this episode
Oh.
or anything, but it's related to Middlesbrough Football Club, and it's if you remember, Adam, I don't know if you do, but on Twitter years ago, someone tweeted the Borough scouting team or at Middlesbrough FC or whatever, saying, "I've
Hmm.
just seen this unbelievable player." Do you know where I'm going with this? Have you
I
seen
know
it?
where you're going with
Yeah.
this one, yeah.
I've just seen this unbelievable player in the second division of France, I believe,
Hmm.
Ligue 2. And he goes, this guy is incredible. He fits Borough perfectly. He'd be the perfect
Hmm.
midfielder for this team. He's called N'Golo Kante.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you I thoroughly recommend you check him out. They responded to this guy. They said, we've passed this on to our scouts, right? And
Hmm.
I know because he then signed for Leicester about a year later or something, right? It
Hmm.
was yeah, whenever it was. I can pretty much say with some certainty that that message has been passed on and the scouting team's gone, no, we don't need that. We've got our own network, we've got our own targets.
Hmm.
Because I feel if they looked at N'Golo Kante, they would see how good he was. And even then, and you'd go, yeah, we need this guy. Unless they
Hmm.
maybe thought he's too short because he was like 5'7". That's the only reason I could think of them looking at him and not going through. But obviously Leicester then signed him. And Leicester, who were favourites to get relegated, won the Premier League that season at
Hmm.
5,000 to 1 odds. And he was, in my opinion, the most instrumental player in that season, Kante.
Yep.
And it showed because then he got his big money move to Chelsea that summer after the one. And then Chelsea won the league. And
Hmm.
then he won the World Cup with France and was probably their best player. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. It's
So,
it's just having that open-mindedness because at the
yeah.
time, like let's, Middlesbrough when they were looking for a player would have been like, right, we need a midfielder. Let's just get some big guy who's just gonna tackle them. Just a
Mm,
massive guy who's just gonna put 2 feet in, and
mm,
that's what we need.
yeah.
Whereas just having that someone extra, just like
Yeah.
nibbling away at your ear almost, just being like, oh, what about this idea? What about this idea? What
Yeah.
about that? Just almost questioning everything.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it just gets you to just think outside the box just
Yeah.
that little bit.
Yeah.
And then they might have thought, well, let's look at it. Come on, let's look at it. Let's look at this guy, see if he's any good.
Yeah.
And then obviously you'd look and you'd be like, okay, yeah, he is really good. Let's bring him in.
Yeah.
But you can tell it was just something like that. They just didn't listen. It was
Yeah.
almost like we've got our plan. Let's
Yeah,
not listen to this. Let's just stick with
yeah,
what we've got.
yeah.
And in the end, it hasn't worked out for us,
Hasn't.
has it?
No,
As
I mean,
Middlesbrough
yeah.
fans.
No, I'm very happy with how we're doing as a club now. Like, I
Mhm.
think Carrick's done a lot of good things, but you do wonder, would we have won the Premier League if we signed Kante? That's what
I
I
don't think
wonder.
we would. I
Well,
do
you
not
think
think
that,
we
but if you
would.
look at their squad, right? If you look at that Leicester squad, the three biggest players, in my opinion, were Kante. It was
Mhm.
Riyad Mahrez who they signed for 400 grand, and it was Jamie Vardy
Mhm.
who they picked up from non-league. Well, picked up from like Fleetwood or whatever, who was in non-league. But
Mhm.
like the three of them, those aren't. Middlesbrough have spent way more money on players than that. We spent how much? 15 million on Britt Sambelonga or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, so we could have signed the quality of that entire Leicester City starting 11 probably with that money if it was
Mhm.
reinvested in the right way. But you don't. You look at N'Golo Kante, this guy who's in the second division in France, who's 5'7", and you go, nah. And
Mhm.
then you look at Britt Sambelonga, who scores 1 in 3 goals for Nottingham Forest in the Championship, and you go, oh. But it's
Mhm.
not all about like CV, is it? It's about like actually looking at them and actually thinking,
Mhm.
can they improve the team?
Well, that's bringing it back to almost like the Ringo situation. They could have brought in the best drummer in the world. They could
Yeah.
have said, right, we're going out. We got the statistically the best drummer in the world. Let's find them. Don't know who it is, but
Yeah.
let's find them. And they'll come in and they might not just fit the bill at all.
Mm,
They might come in and be like, right, we just want a nice little, a nice little rhythm in the background, a
mm,
nice little something you can swing your head to. And they'll be playing some absolutely like heavy stuff. And it's like,
mm,
right, that's not what we need. That just doesn't
mm.
fit.
Yeah.
And it's just finding that right fit for the purpose and the scenario. And I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what the Beatles did well, and that's exactly what Leicester City did well.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. It's been open-minded to that. And well, Adam, we're there. It's
Mhm.
20 minutes. It's
Amazing, isn't it?
it's
It's
always
amazing how
incredible.
fast it goes.
Of the Beatles and the Borough. That's what we
Mhm.
need to chat about. But no, really appreciate that. We're gonna
Mhm.
have you back on for many, many more occasions, I'm sure. But until then, where can the people find you?
They can find me in the same place they always can. That's twitch.tv/, IdleCrisp. You'll see me on a Wednesday. You'll see me on a Friday. You'll see me on a Sunday, 6 p.m. UK time. Be there or don't.
Those are your options. Take it or leave
There's
it.
your options. Yep. Enjoy.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Adam.
And
Do
thanks for
appreciate
having me
that.
on. It's been
And
a pleasure.
yeah, I'll see you next time. Take care.